Welcome back to the Overplayed podcast, the home of sports and sports gaming in your ear every single Thursday. Yeah, you get to listen to one part of this podcast being absolutely incredible, and there's another part of this podcast that's, kind of growing a beard back and kind of, hates on certain players and is super toxic. And that's my incredible co-host, Mills. Mills, how are you?
And one side of this podcast has a consistent time that he's here every night. And one side of this podcast sometimes makes it by 8, sometimes sends an invitation to record at 7:45. And I look down and I go, wait a second, is he actually ready? And I check the outline, the outline for the podcast. And I'm like, oh my God, there's topics filled out. Wait a second, hold on.
This is coming from the guy that said he would do the topics, and now I'm doing toxicity.
Listen, I have no problem doing the topics. I just figured, sometimes you big time, you like to flex the follower count and how your Facebook's golden child. So I like to offer my services at times so I can serve you much like all of your other underlings do. So just want to make sure I was, in line, as they say.
For the record, I have never once flexed my follower count. I'm not one of those weirdos that puts follower count in my bio, and I would never do those things that Mills is saying. So just know Mills is lying per usual.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are you up to,
Mills,
man, you weirdo?
Mills is lying, yet so many people are feeling the same pain that I feel right now. Who is that your mod that once in a while chimes in on Twitter? I see. If you guys are watching the YouTube, you already know that GGB is. Yeah, well, go ahead.
Listen, there's not a single moderator that has been a part of a streamer's community for a year plus that is not toxic. Right? Look at your mods. They're great people. When I talk to them, when you talk to them, they hate you. And I don't blame them for hating you.
No, I love my mods. Dude, Clinch, CG, and Hockey Lover, I love them.
They're
I love
great,
them to death.
But they hate you, and I don't blame them. First of all, Malik just is a glizzy gladiator. This man loves himself a good hot dog, and he's just infatuated with him. Molly has not said one nice thing about me ever. Laura would probably beat me up. Ellie, don't want to mess with her either. She's... I'm afraid of all my mods.
Did you just like ninja chop the air?
I don't know. She threatened everyone's life one time. I don't really mess with my mods. I'm scared.
Anyway, so you ask what we've been doing this week. It's been an interesting week for MLB The Show. I've been playing a lot of that. New ranked season new BR rewards. I've fallen into the Final Fantasy 14 hype.
Okay, this episode's over.
A lot of people on Twitch and a lot of creators are starting to get into not only I've fallen into 2 MMOs actually. Final Fantasy 14 I've started for the first time ever, and I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, so that kind of like resonates with me. I want to play through the main story and go with that. Servers are absolutely borked right now because of people like Asmongold and Go Carnage and a lot of larger creators on all platforms really diving back into the game. And then also, if you didn't know, the New World beta, which is an Amazon-owned MMO, came out. I'm actually having a lot of fun with that too. The combat is interesting. The guns are hit scan in an MMO, which is weird because you hear MMO and you go, okay, you target something, you attack. These are actually hit scan. You have to target the actual enemy and hit them for this to work. So it has a little FPS in there once in a while. Enjoying it. It's a game that was not on my radar a ton, but now August 10th, I believe it comes out August 10th. I'm really interested in it. It comes out at a terrible time for you and I in terms of sports gaming having literally 2 weeks after that, or even that same week, because I think Madden releases that same week. So it's an interesting change for me. I'm an RPG nerd at heart, so playing MMOs kind of like goes along with that. I've been sucked into MMOs before, but I really think that either New World or Final Fantasy 14 is going to stick for me.
Yeah, I've never really played it. Actually, I've never played an MMO ever. Not really. No, I never played. There's one MMO that I wanted to play when I was a kid. It was APB, All Points Bulletin.
Yes,
it was when I was in like middle school. They announced it, and it looked really cool. And then it never came out. Then it came back years later as like APB, like in a weird reloaded type thing, and it wasn't really the same sort of concept. And I was like, nah. But New World looks cool. I'm just infinitely scared by the fact that it's like borking GPUs right now.
It is very much destroying all kinds of equipment.
Yeah, so that kind of scares me. But I actually jumped back into Telltale's The Walking Dead. I don't know if you ever played that series, but
I did. Yeah, it's amazing.
We're going through season 1. I played through the entirety of season 1, but I wanted my community to, know about it. And then I want to play through the remaining seasons. I never really finished those. So doing that, dealing with hackers all over Warzone is making it uncomfortable right now.
Yeah.
I'm praying that the Microsoft flighting for Halo Infinite comes out ASAP. Like I need that ASAP to hold me over for sports games.
I've heard a lot of creators that live in the first person shooter world really pointing towards Halo recently, especially it's not just Warzone. Like Apex has had a ton of issue with hackers as well.
Yeah.
For Final Circle. It's a crazy thought to think that so many people are willing to cheat to get like wins that don't really mean anything. Yep. At the end of the day, you win by cheating, and it's kind of like, okay, now what? You just drop in again and do it again? I think I almost understand it when you're sniping like larger creators, because that gives a clout chase kind of feel. And again, I don't agree with that, but I understand maybe the motivation. But I hear about random games having like hackers in it. It's weird.
Too easy.
It's weird.
Too accessible.
Right. I agree with that. And we talked about last week how there's now hackers like in double PC systems. It's another world. It's another world that I'm not really interested in getting into. But
you probably should, though, considering how bad you are at games. But
I mean, come on. We're not going to talk about my Corona Zen, right? My Corona Zen that I use.
Maybe next week.
Well, this week was also big for sports gaming. We're having all the sports games are starting to hype themselves up, get ready for the big launch coming up late August, September. And a couple of those games that are hyping right now is Madden, who is doing, I think, a fantastic job in terms of open line communication, and not just they have their sizzle rolls. They have their stuff coming out that's like, hey, this is your 2-minute, look at how fire this is. But at the same time, they're doing podcasts. They did a live stream that was a part of EA Play. I'm going to repeat this. Madden franchise mode for a feature that's not going to be available on launch was a part of EA Play this year. If anyone here understands what EA Play is, you know how massive that is. So the 4 people that sat down were Nick Mazesco, who is a broadcaster for the Madden Championship Series, an all-around awesome dude. Tom Litchke, who is a franchise producer. Sean Grady, who is the Madden creative director, and I always get his title wrong. I'm pretty sure it's creative director. It's either creative director or executive producer, one of those two. And then Andre Weingarten, who we've had on the podcast, who is a franchise, Swami, Moonlight Swami, who is a franchise game designer. And they sat down and talked about scouting and the scouting complete revamp that they're doing on the first title update in September. Let's talk about the bad first. I'm going to put the bad out there for you first. If you're going to be using the scouting update, you're going to have to restart your franchise mode. Up front, I sort of expect that when it comes to a major feature for an ongoing title. So that doesn't bother me as much. And I believe they're aiming to have this out the same time that like final rosters are ready to go, which is a lot of people will restart their franchise then anyway. At the same time, oh my God, how massive was this scouting revamp? My favorite part was, so the big board that we used to have is now a media big board and shared via all 32 teams, whether they're CPU or AI. So if you scout somebody in the 5th round with like your big scout, it actually shows up on the big board as him getting attention and could draw the eyes of other teams. Again, the CPU is supposed to react to this. For you, watching, maybe not in the stream, but seeing all the information that came out with scouting, like, what has been the big thing for you to take away from this?
Genuinely, I loved it. And listening to Swami talk football or Madden, or it blows. Like I was sitting there like a child, just like, tell me more, Swami.
Like for hours. I said something on Twitter. I said, I think I could listen to this dude talk football or like drafting or scouting. I listened to this like I listened to like a romance novel, like pants around the ankles, ready to go.
I mean, it was genuinely the opposite of listening to you talk. I was like, please tell me more, Swami. I loved it for a lot of different reasons. I think I actually watched I caught like half of the stream because I missed it for, dad duties and stuff. And then I ended up rewatching it in its entirety and was like, holy crap, there's so many good nuggets of information.
Yeah.
You talked about the big board, for example. I think it's a great feature with the whole mock draft sort of incorporation to it, because you can imagine when we're in, whether you're playing a solo franchise, you're trying to trick the CPU, or playing with a bunch of friends and trying to trick your friends into drafting a player.
Yep.
The meta game of trying to trick someone into drafting a Mitchell Trubisky or a Christian Ponder like super early as a quarterback, they're not talented because you're coveting another player that you won, or not being sure if the guy you want to draft at running back or quarterback or wherever is really worth it. You scout them a little bit too much, and now one of your friends or the CPU who also needs that position is like, whoa, wait a second. This guy's moving up the draft board. He's getting more media attention. Maybe I should be focusing attention on him. And then that then cascades into more people looking at him. And then you could see trades happen. Like there's such a domino effect. And we see it every year with the smoke and mirrors that happens in the real draft of players sort of moving around or dropping significantly or rising fast at a certain point. I love that scouting wasn't just okay, we're going to change, lightly how scouting is done. Okay, you guys are clicking a bunch of buttons this year. We'll maybe add a little bit more depth. No. This is a complete massive revamp. It reminds me more of an NFL head coach than it does something in Madden. And I think if you're a franchise person, that's something you've always wanted.
That's one of the biggest compliments you can give if you're a franchise person, is that reminds you of NFL head coach 09, which had its own drawbacks. Don't get me wrong. But when you're talking about coaching, management, that type of stuff, that's one of the best versions that we've seen. I love that there's a staff now. I love that it's 4 area scouts. Like you're not just going down the board and going, okay, 15 points, 10 points, 15 points, like going down now. You're actually sending your 4 area scouts to different regions of the country and then having your national scout really focus in. And again, I also love the fact that if you don't want to do this, you can automate it.
Amen.
I think one of the things that we miss here again is we call it the 2% rule. Is everyone we see online is normally the 2% of the people that play the game. Casual users don't necessarily want to do all this. They want to just have this team built for them and be like, hey, do this for me, do this for me, this for me. There's automation built into every one of these new features, which I think is incredibly important. Hey, that might be something even you and I use at some point where it's like, okay, we're going to see what the computer will do 2 years down the road and see what the NFL looks like 10 years down the road, post Diva Rogers or post, when Tom Brady's out. Maybe Tom Brady's a coach at some point. I think that they're laying fantastic foundation. And I fully expect, to be fair, I fully expect them to have to tune this after it's released. At the same time, I love the foundation that they're setting for this mode. And I want to I want to bring up one more point that I heard during this stream that is very important to me. And actually, while I was co-streaming, it got me a little in my feelings. They mentioned storytelling multiple times. You've heard the word storytelling on this stream a lot of times. We didn't create the word. We didn't create the feedback.
We created it.
Let me explain. I'm sorry? Yeah, we created it?
You definitely created it, yeah.
No, we didn't. What I can tell you is that when we give feedback and have been giving feedback for years to multiple games, storytelling is something that everybody in the franchise community brings up. Telling a story, not just necessarily your story, but including the league into your story. And to hear Tom Lichkey, specifically the franchise producer, mention storytelling so many times on their big broadcasts. But again, let me go over this again. Madden's highlight of EA Play is talking about a feature for franchise that is not going to release until a month after release, or the month after release, whatever it is. That blew me away. That blew me away because Sean Grady is sitting there, the dude that put his face on the line and said, hey, look, we're going to fix this. Last July, he came out and said, we hear you. We're going to talk to you. We're going to communicate with you, and we're going to fix this. And Tom Lichkey has said, storytelling, it's the most important thing to us. The most important thing on our priority list is making sure stories are told and that you can live stories. I'm going to give Madden credit when I've bashed them so many times. This is a complete 180 from last year. Last year, this time, Madden was under fire from every arm of the community. Even the MUT community was fighting for franchise. And now it's the most positive feedback that I've seen in a very, very long time over these additions and these modes. And it's because they opened lines of communication. They're open about feedback. They said one of the first things they said about scouting was, you're going to have to restart your franchise. Just a heads up, you are going to have to restart your franchise. but it's going to be worth it. And that means a lot to this community. It means a lot to the sports gaming community. And I wish other games would do the same thing.
Yeah, I absolutely hear you. And I think I hate that it took something massive like that to sort of, shake the branches at EA for them to realize that, okay, we know we've been neglecting Madden, but now everyone else does. Well, everyone else is known. It's just there was never really an organized, concerted effort. And so, again, hate to see that this is what it took, but, obviously give them their props for at least finally hearing the feedback and saying, we've got to make a change. There's something massive. There's momentum here. We need to do something, and really putting some great features in. And to your point earlier, Mills, yes, they're probably going to have to tune stuff and figure things out. This isn't a slight change. This is a massive change. These are major back of the box marketing material updates that they're putting out there. So I think we have to be, we have to hold them accountable, right? For different things. I think we have to give them some room and flexibility to be like, okay, you gave us a massive feature. We'll give you some feedback, but give them time to tune it and make it what we ultimately want it to be.
Yeah, I agree. Now, talking about communication, we're going to keep going here. It looks like for the first time, NBA 2K is starting to hype up their 2K22 game coming out September 10th. We talked about the cover art and how unbelievably beautiful it is. But they started they put out a courtside report. I love the way their courtside reports are built, where they have like estimated read time and they put it out in multiple places. They talk about on-court gameplay, their offense being revamped, defense, their shot contest, and their blocking system, with a whole new set of new defensive tools to feel more rewarding. Seasons being added to almost every mode. We don't know exactly what that is yet, but obviously something that's going to change the way people play. I'm extremely excited over My Team Draft, which is a draft mode that Madden and Battle Royale and with the show. My Team hasn't had that. Great way to try out new cards without having to get a hold of them. It looks like there's going to be a new city for next gen and a new neighborhood for current gen. We'll talk about the new next gen, all that. My career is getting some upgrades. My NBA is mentioned. We'll see how that goes over the time. For NBA 2K22, this is a big year for them, and I think mostly because this is their first full foray into the next gen. Like, their next gen was different; it came out a little late, but this is gonna be a full season under next gen, and a lot of these features are next gen specific. How do you feel about the 2K22 announcements? And then comment on next gen is kind of leaving last gen behind. And it's a little earlier than I think the last time this happened, when it was the Xbox One, PlayStation 4. It feels like companies are really starting to focus on next gen features and understanding that last gen is not going to be able to get those. So comment on what you think about the 2K22 announcements, some of the features if you want to, and then the combination of the next gen, last gen, missing out.
For sure. For me, first time I've ever worked on a game title before, I love sort of when I saw these a few weeks back. To me, there was a couple things that really stood out. I think, again, we talk about listening to feedback. The matchmaking component, I think, is probably one of my favorite parts. Being able to have certain different things you can sort of matchmake into. Everyone that's played, Park, you feel either very strongly about God Next in one way or the other, right? You either love it or you totally despise it, and everyone sort of has their individual feelings on that. To me, like, giving people the option to have the ability to matchmake straight into certain things, I think is fantastic. So I loved hearing that.
You don't have to waste your time walking around the city. I love the way the city looks, but walking around the city is a big time sink.
For sure. And sometimes it's just to your point, like, you don't only have a certain amount of time and you're like, man, do I really want to have to compete for a guy next? And, some people are sort of crazy. And I don't think matchmaking solves everything, right? Because people that don't want to play with certain positions or certain like lower levels for whatever reason, or against higher levels, are still probably going to find a way to back out or whatever.
Always do.
But that's the nature of online gaming, and, unfortunately, at that point.
Yeah.
I think the other big thing for me is, like, to your point, next gen is something that we're starting to see more and more features built out for. But I love the fact that the cruise ship for last gen is something that's brand new. I think companies could easily just say, like, oh, we're just gonna, copy pasta. It's not copy pasta, but like it's people think it's that way of just taking what we previously had and sort of,
right,
tuning in or doing something slight. But getting a brand new environment, I think, for last gen, for sort of the neighborhood, I think is massive, right?
It looks like it might be multiple environments too. It looks like the cruise ship, the way it reads out with like when you cruise the docks of exotic locales, it looks like it might go to multiple locations over the course of the game.
Yeah, I mean, they even talk about, make your way to the excursion counter to participate in shore-side events, all taking place completely off the ship. Like, to me, that's incredibly cool. So I love the people that if you have not been able to get onto next gen, whether it's through pricing or you haven't been able to find one, like the vast majority of people out there,
right?
That there's still something new and creative for you in a mode that people are going to sink an insane amount of time in.
I think that this is a good thing for NBA because I think one of the things missing out of like the My Player mode is while like the city and the park mode is while it's cool to do that, it's missing that event feel. Like the reason, like a lot of players will go into certain game modes because events are going on. Like my team will be doing, the limited mode over the weekend, or like Madden will do, Thanksgiving, or they'll do their Christmas. Those events are going on. Yeah. I think one of the things that My Player is missing right now is that like event feel, and having like that cruise ship where it says, okay, this week it's going to go to, this location 1, this week it's going to location 2. There's going to be different rule sets, or there's going to be different like feels to all the courts and stuff like that. I love that. I love that idea. I really hope people take to that because that is a very, very cool addition. I think you brought up, and I completely rolled over because it's just part of the whole courtside report.
Yep.
As for like next gen advancements, we've seen this already. FIFA's going to be doing it with the next gen. Their hypermotion is not something that's going to be seen on last gen. Madden is doing it. Game day, dynamic game day is not something that's going to be on last gen. 2K22, NBA 2K22 is absolutely doing it. Their gameplay is completely different on next gen than it is on last gen. We've already started to hear rumors that NHL is going to be literally 2 separate games. There's going to be a next gen version and there's going to be a last gen version, and the next gen version is going to feel significantly and release significantly different. I'm for it, but I understand the pain. I understand that not everyone's going to be able to afford a next gen system. I understand that not everyone's going to be able to find next gen system, especially it's July and people are still relying on like sites to tell them when something's back in stock. You would have thought about non-existed. Like the Steam Deck just came out and now it's already, I think, launching second quarter of 22 for a lot of people trying to pre-order when it should be coming this holiday. At the same time, man, like you got to advance. You have to advance at some point. Same way with PCs. Like PCs can only support older graphic cards for so long before, if imagine we were still worried about like the 1080 Ti's now when people are putting out 3090s. Imagine some of the graphics would be holding back. I'm glad to see consoles doing this. They have to do this. They have to start pushing the envelope earlier in the life cycle so we can see a larger and more well-rounded life cycle of these consoles, not this, hey, for the first 2 years of this console, well, we're trying to get last gen back in, so we don't want to go too far. Dude, blow it out on next gen. Let last gen be that port that keeps moving over. So again, unfortunate, but it's time. It's time. Move up, and move up or shut up. That's how that saying goes, right?
Probably not, but I mean, you were close enough.
Well, talking about, moving up, the Milwaukee Bucks so if you told me at the beginning of the season, the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be champion, I think we've both made our points of where their deficiencies lie. But hey, the Milwaukee Bucks are the NBA champion, beating these Phoenix Suns in 6 games. I think they're glad they won in 6, by the way. I think going back to Phoenix for 7 would have been a bad time. And the celebration has gone, I think, nonstop. I think I've watched Giannis's Instagram consistently for the last 24 hours. Amazing. I think he took the trophy to a Chick-fil-A and asked for a 50 piece, right?
By the chicken minis, by the way. That is it. Right. Bro, I eat 6 chicken minis. I'm like, all right, man, I'm done for the day.
It's because you're a lightweight. That's what we like to call lightweight.
It's a lot of bread.
Bro, you're like the slim man. The Slender Man. The Slender Man. You know that old Steam game where like the really thin dude comes out of nowhere at night?
First of all, I'm 6'3", 190. That's not toothpick. That's not toothpick.
I mean, yeah, that big bobblehead you have takes up at least 50 of the pounds.
It's the guns.
But I don't ever flex on this stream again. But yeah, at the same time, by the way, he ordered a Sprite and lemonade.
It's a smart move. It's a smart move.
I didn't know it was a thing.
You're going to be the next Arnold Palmer. right? Imagine if Chick-fil-A has any
Can I get the
marketing
Giannis?
brain. Yeah, a Giannis, which is half lemonade, half Sprite, no ice.
I want him to call it.
Genius.
I want him to call it the Antetokounmpo though. I want him because did you see him turn the Instagram photo video around to the Chick-fil-A employee who was sitting there ordering? By the way, the only I'm sorry to go off
Person on
topic
the
here.
planet.
The only group on the planet, the only restaurant on the planet that has their employees standing outside in the drive-through line to make it go faster.
Hey, Chick-fil-A kind of they make it move though. They make it move.
See, yeah, he turned the camera around. I was like, you're here for 150,000 people, and he said Sprite and lemonade. And she's like, what?
She had no idea who he was too, which is crazy to me.
It is what it is. Come on. His last name's Antetokounmpo. I mean, you got to know that dude's name. He should have worn a jersey through. Anyway, so 6 games. They're the NBA champion. I think, obviously, they're one of the favorites coming into the season, but I do think they had some serious deficiencies. I think that they were the most healthy team to make it through the NBA Finals, okay? I do believe that if all things considered, they don't make it the whole way, that doesn't change the fact everyone deals with the same thing. Injuries happen. Congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks. But now we have questions of, let's start looking a little forward here. Let's look back at the finals just for 1 second. What happened to the Suns here? What happened to the Suns because it looked really good for the first 2 games and then it just fell apart? What happened?
Yeah, so a couple of things here from my perspective. One, we know what Giannis did, right? Giannis has put up a 50 burger in the clinching game. He's putting up 40 burgers with near triple doubles across the board. Giannis played out of his mind. He is a superstar. I don't think anyone was really questioning that. I will also apologize to Milwaukee Bucks fans because when the Bogdan Bogdanovic trade did not go through, I said they had no shot at that point. Obviously, I was incorrect. So, there's my apology for that. The 2 most important players, I think, for that team, one of them people probably agree with the other, maybe not so much, but Jrue Holiday, what he did in picking up Chris Paul 3/4 of the court a lot of the times and not allowing Chris Paul to control the game and the flow of the offense for Phoenix was masterful. And I know Jrue Holiday has some streaky games where he was not shooting well and people are giving him a lot of crap. I totally get that. But if you were exerting that much effort on defense against, yes, albeit an older Chris Paul, but a Chris Paul that is still dominating the game when he's running the offense the way that he wants to.
Chris Paul's still dirty as hell, by the way.
What is it?
Still dirty as hell, though.
Oh, I mean,
he's no bro. And the Chris Paul staple. No, keep going. We'll talk about Chris Paul here in a second. We'll talk about it in a second.
Yeah, I respect it. But what Jrue was able to do is incredible. So 100% hats off to him because I think really after game 2, how he played Chris Paul was, again, mind blown. Budenholzer made an adjustment here, and Jrue stepped up magnificently.
Agree.
The other player, which I have some appreciation for, is Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis is a dude, one, you do not want to fight with, literally and physically, because that dude will knock you out. Ask somebody in Chicago about that one. But Bobby Portis and the energy he got off the bench, mind you, the Brooklyn, was it Brooklyn? I think it was a Brooklyn Nets series. Bobby Portis was a DNP for like 3, maybe 4 games or something of that nature. Like, he was not playing. And now Budenholzer in the finals is like, hey, man, we're going to need you out here. It didn't last round 2, obviously, he played. But Bobby Portis, since I think, I don't know if it was the game where Trey dropped almost 50, whatever it was, but since then, Bobby Portis has been a masterful part of that team. High energy, rebounding, great effort on defense. Rotations have been fantastic. Getting the crowd hype, picking his teammates up. Bobby Portis was a masterful player in that series. And last night, I think he had 16 off the bench. Hats off to Bobby Portis, man. That dude has become an internet meme for a lot of different reasons. But that dude played his you-know-what off. And I think he was a major reason why the Bucks ended up winning.
And hats off also to Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton, sure. Everyone knew that Chris Middleton is, Superman and Hyde at the same time. He came to play in most of these games. Game 4, I think he was the top scorer for the Bucks. He scored 40 in that win. Even the games he didn't score 20, he came with assists, rebounds. He was playing defense a whole lot. He did a lot of things to back up Giannis in this series when Middleton was slowly becoming a joke. He was slowly becoming the guy that was not showing up for a lot of these games. He was either, what would they say? It was either Kobe or completely missing, like on the bench. So Chris Middleton absolutely just balled out for especially the last 4 games. The 4 games they won, you could tell that Chris Middleton was the Robin to Giannis's Batman. You could tell who the real star of that team would be if Giannis wasn't there for once in the playoffs, you can see the consistency out of Middleton. You brought up Chris Paul. I want to bring up two parts of Chris Paul here. First of all, this is nothing that he has done, but he has now consistently booted 2-0 leads in the playoffs.
I hate this stat. I hate this stat.
Because it's a team thing. Like, it's not like he did this.
Yeah.
Right. It's not. But at the same time, what I will say is he also tried to kill Giannis Antetokounmpo in that game. No. Don't give me that look. He two-hand shoved a 6'11" guy that was two-hand dunking on the rim when he was running underneath of it. Please tell me, if you do that in a gym game, if you run to somebody's hip in a gym game, you're getting whooped. Believe me, I've done it, and I've done the whooping, okay? I've done both sides of this.
I hear you, right? I hear you. I'm not saying it was a good look. What I'm saying is people are looking at that from a replay, from a post-processing ability, all the different stuff. Hear me out. In the moment, right? He is a 6'2", 6'3" dude who has a dude jumping over top of him, and he extended his hands. Yes, he's pushing him, but I don't think he extended
his hands. No. He didn't just extend his arms. You can see Giannis. The only thing that saves Giannis is he's got a grip on the rim. He literally.
But I don't think, again, you're post-processing this, in my opinion. I'm talking about in the moment what it looked like Chris Paul did. That was instinctual of Chris Paul facing the ball, seeing the ball thrown over him, and immediately extending his hands. I think Chris Paul was trying to. Does Chris Paul
have a history of dirty plays?
You can look at so many players saying, oh, this is a dirty player or whatever. I'm just saying what it looked like to me is Chris Paul is trying to, yes, shove him, but I don't think he was shoving him with the intent to hurt him. I think he was trying to get him away from the alley-oop. And by the time he actually turned to do that, it was too late. But he had no idea where Giannis was when that ball was thrown.
He shoved a 6'11" guy in the hip and lower while he was in the air.
You're the person you hate on Twitter right now.
No, that's fine. I can hate on the people on Twitter all you want. I'm telling you right now, dude shoved a dude, like shoved one of the superstars of the league. Just not needed. Let's move on past that.
It happens to 7-footers all the time, though. I'm just gonna put that out there.
No, I fully agree with that. And Giannis played through it. Like, what did he do? He dunked, looked at Chris Paul, and said, "Get the hell out of here." The same Chris Paul that started shoving guys and smiling at them earlier in the playoffs. By the way, truth. That's the truth. Pat Beverly. Now, Pat worked on Pat Beverly. By the way, Pat Beverly got himself ejected. Giannis just kind of laughed at him and walked away because Giannis
didn't shove Pat Bev. He whispered something to Pat Bev, and then Pat Bev shoved him.
Okay, sorry, he didn't shove Pat Bev at all that entire series either. So, but now Chris Paul has another choice here. Chris Paul has proven his mettle in Phoenix. He's shown that he is still worth the money. He has the option this offseason to leave or stay with the Suns. There are some teams that could use Chris Paul. The Suns still being one of them, by the way. But I think the Suns may have seen enough out of role player campaign at this point. First of all, do the Suns try to keep him? And number two, does Chris Paul possibly go somewhere he might be able to do more with?
Yeah, here's my thing. I love Chris Paul. Chris Paul is making well north of, I think I'm checking his salary now. He makes well north of 30 mil, I'm pretty sure, a year. He made 44 mil this year. Next year, he is scheduled to be. No, he's a player option this year. So he's a player option. I'm assuming his player option
for a player option for 44 million. Yes,
got it. So if I am Phoenix, I love Chris Paul, but I do not want Chris Paul to pick up that $44 million player option.
Okay.
What you were hoping here is that players in free agency are saying, you know what? And it doesn't have to be this season. It could be next season as well. Players in free agency are saying, yo, Phoenix is a really good core. I could come there and do something really nice. One other thing to think about, I'm not saying he's as good as Chris Paul. Lonzo Ball is a free agent coming in this offseason.
I agree.
Lonzo Ball could be a fantastic fit in Phoenix. He's a long defender. He's a fantastic passer. His jump shot is not very good, but it's getting significantly better. His form is getting better. Alonzo with a Devin Booker, with Aiden running the floor, with Bridges also running the floor, that could be a really, really fun fit. So if I'm them, you're going to pay Lonzo Ball significantly less. You're going to have a guy that is typically had a better health history than what Chris Paul has had. I'm letting Lonzo be that guy. I think Chris Paul can make a lot of sense in LA. He can make a lot of sense in Philly because they don't have a point guard.
Philly was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, there are a couple of places that can make sense. And if I'm Chris Paul, I'm probably going East Coast, right? I want to attack a team like Milwaukee earlier on, but then you have to go through, Brooklyn and what they are. But Brooklyn only played 8 games together this entire season, so we don't know if their core 3 of Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant only played 8 games together. Kevin Durant also made the decision to play in the Olympics, which is a guy, again, coming off a massive injury 2 seasons ago. I don't think that was a great choice. I think that's more, chance for him to get injured again.
Right.
If I'm Chris Paul, I'm taking massive dollars, going to the East Coast, and I'm playing. He could be even closer to home, right? The dude is from North Carolina or Georgia, I can't remember. Go closer to home. I would do that if I were him.
There are also a good number of unrestricted free agent point guards that are going to be available for Phoenix. Mike Conley comes to mind. Kyle Lowry, Spencer Dinwiddie from the Nets is going to have to re-sign.
Dinwiddie.
And we already kind of feel that there's no way they're going to be able to bring Dinwiddie back unless he gives them a club-friendly deal. And Dinwiddie's 28. He's not giving. No, I didn't see what Dinwiddie said. No.
Oh my God, he was on a podcast or like an IG thing or whatever, and they said like, what would you do? What would it take for them to bring you back? And the guy threw out a number like 3 years, 80 million or something. He's like, nah, 5-year deal. And then it was like 5 years, 120 mil is like what he says his market value is. Dinwiddie's one of the smartest minds in the league. So yeah, he's not taking a team friendly deal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Dinwiddie would look beautiful in Phoenix next year instead of Chris Paul. At the same time, Chris Paul, this would be the last year. His player option would be his last year, and he'd be 37. If he could get another big deal, that's another 3-year deal, 4-year deal he could get out of this. He could make out way better because there's a chance, as you said, he's getting older. Like there's a chance he has a down year next year and does not get the money. He goes on the free agent market this year. He's getting a max contract somewhere like Philly. Like, I don't want to say Indiana.
Miami could even be an option for him.
Miami could work for him. I could see Miami, especially with some of their young core going with. They could really use a veteran. And again, it's the East, man. It's the East. How easily could some team add Chris Paul and become a favorite? Dude, if Philly had Chris Paul, they're in the finals this year. Yeah. I mean, instead of Ben Simmons, Chris Paul doesn't do it. Ben Simmons, you don't get the defensive, obviously, but Chris Paul's an okay defender. Chris Paul for a point guard is an okay defender. So it's going to be interesting to see just where Chris Paul goes here. Let's go super early pick. If you got to pick somebody for the NBA final or NBA champion next year, just right now, based on what you know, who do you think does it?
Yeah. I'm going to tell Milwaukee Bucks fans you're not repeating. I don't foresee that. I think teams
one of the hardest things to do in
sports.
So yeah, 100%. One of the hardest things to do in sports for sure.
100%. Teams will adapt in how they play Giannis. My early pick, there's so much movement in free agency. I still don't want to bet against LeBron. I know I have a LeBron like figurehead down there, but I don't pick against LeBron. So I'm going to say,
what did you just say?
I have a LeBron like fathead down here.
Oh,
so
okay.
I can't see it.
That's what I thought you said. Okay.
I'm saying LeBron, healthy Anthony Davis, LeBron having an off season to recoup, not having to play in the Olympics or anything of that nature. He's going to make a pitch to get another good players who come there. It's not going to be Dame Lillard. They're going to have another addition. With that being in my mind, I still pick the Lakers as a favorite.
I'm going to stick with my pick last year of the Nets. I think the fact that Harden's there, they hit some really hard times with the injuries that they sustained. I know they're going to lose Dinwiddie, which is going to be a huge blow for them. But if Harden, Irving, and Durant are all healthy at the same time when the playoffs start, nobody's beating them. And I still stick with that. I still stick with, because Harden, or obviously Irving can be the ball handler, Harden can be the wing guy, and Durant can do just about everything. What hurt the Nets this year were injuries. Like if they're not injured, I think they're way more competitive than they were against the Bucks. So I'm going to stick with the Nets. I'm going to say that, those injuries in that pattern don't happen again. I'm not saying they don't get injured. Guaranteed one of the three is going to get injured during the regular season. I think they're going to be much smarter with load management. I think the season being full this year in terms of, having the extra 2 months in the beginning of the season, it being 82 games, but it being more spread out, I think is more important than that. I still think the Nets come through. And I think the Lakers, one of the reasons is the Lakers are going to get beat up in the West again. There's just too many good teams in the West. Utah is going to be good again next year. I really think Denver takes another step forward this year. Remember, they didn't have Jamal Murray for a lot of the season. So I think Denver takes another step forward. I think the Clippers are back again. I think any team, especially if Kawhi stays there, I think any team that has Kawhi is always going to be important and good. So,
I mean, yeah, but I think they're losing Will Barton. So I don't know like how he's an important part to Denver. They've got some maturation issues. We'll see.
I think obviously Will Barton, a big thing. Millsap, which is neither here nor there at this point. They're losing JaVale McGee though. JaVale McGee, the savior of the USA basketball team,
future Olympic gold medalist JaVale McGee.
I can't believe
how many people do you think they went through before they called up JaVale McGee?
Dude, and then to hear Twitter go on this whole rant of that's what they need. They need rebounding and interior defense. Don't you know? That's why JaVale McGee is the perfect choice. Give me this crap. It's JaVale McGee on an Olympic basketball team for the United States of America. Don't tell me how JaVale McGee is the savior for this team because he knows how to play a little bit of defense and can rebound the ball.
Don't let your dreams be dreams, kids.
Oh, whatever. Talking about dreams being dreams. It's came out today that Texas and Oklahoma are both rumored to be looking to join the SEC. Smart move for Texas and Oklahoma because I think that's a way better conference right now, especially for football, than the Big 12. But what is Texas A&M doing? Talk to me again about this.
So Texas A&M's AD Ross Bjork, BJORK. I'm assuming the J is kind of silent. So Bjork, I don't know. I'm doing some, I don't ever mispronounce the last name. He's not happy. And his exact quote here was, hold on, I lost it. We want to be the only SEC program in the state of Texas. There's a reason why Texas A&M left the Big 12 to be standalone, to have our own identity. You are a university. The whole point of you having identity is that you are a university that can build that. A different school from your state going to the same conference you're in doesn't matter. It would be like if UVA and Virginia Tech were like, you know what? Only one of us can be in the ACC because we want to be. Shut up. You are bad at your job if people can't identify why your school is different or better than another school in your state, you dummy.
So to expand for the official rule to this, at least, and I agree, Texas A&M running away from Texas is hilarious. To expand, the SEC bylaw states that in a 14-team league, 11 yes votes are necessary to expand. The problem is that I don't think anyone is on Texas A&M's side here, because when you think about Texas and Oklahoma, like those are so much money. TV deals, they're nationally recognized. Texas, even though Texas has been down recently, like Oklahoma is a massive football school. Texas is a massive, not only football school, Texas is a massive basketball and baseball school. Yep. Like they're all massive, they just break in money for the SEC. I'm sorry, but Bjork, I don't know if it's Bjork, Bjorn, whatever want to sing. Who was in the 90s singing? Bjorn, yeah. Bjorn, okay, whatever that lady's name was. So I don't care who you are. The SEC is not going to turn down Texas, not going to turn down Oklahoma. And this leads more into the report from Mark Emmert that that the NCAA kind of not needed anymore. The NCAA is kind of like this governing body that, just doesn't govern a whole lot. This might take another step to the power conferences, the Power 5 conferences taking the power and being 5 major individual groups. And college football really changing how we know it in the next couple of years. By the way, Mark Emmert, you're not scaring, you're not fooling anybody.
You dummy.
You pretty much told everyone what the Supreme Court smacked you with a few weeks ago. So don't come out and try to be like the bastion of goodwill. That it's okay. The NCAA doesn't need to do this anymore. I don't need my job. Okay, so you position yourself to be an AD anywhere else. So, yeah, so it is kind of interesting to hear Texas A&M's AD come out and be like, we want to be the only one in Texas when they've got schools like Ole Miss is in the SEC at the same time Mississippi State is. Like, who cares? Texas is the largest, isn't it the largest land state in America? Like, who do you care? Whatever. It's college sports being college sports is what it is right now. And Texas A&M not want to get that whoop from the Longhorns on a yearly basis. Speaking of the whoop. Hi, Aaron Rodgers. How are you doing? Welcome back to the podcast, Mr. Diva. Reports came out this week. Real quick, we're going to go around the NFL real quick, is that the Aaron Rodgers did turn down to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And you know what? I'm actually on Rodgers' side this time.
What?
Yeah, I'm on Rodgers' side. He absolutely should have turned it down. And when you're disrespected the way Aaron Rodgers has been disrespected, why would you take the contract? Oh, and by the way, all the Green Bay fans that are my mentions are like, he's coming back to play this year. Sure he is. He just turned down a massive contract to come back and play for peanuts, right? Now, you know what's going to happen? Dude is going to Washington, and he's going to lead that team to a Super Bowl. Okay, he's going to go to Denver. He's going to lead that team to at least an AFC West championship over the Kansas City Chiefs, and then he's going to show everybody just how important he is before he ruins that coaching staff too. You watch what happens. This is exactly what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. He's going to get traded. He's going to be amazing for a year, and then he's going to throw another coaching staff under the bus.
I really can't stand you.
What do you mean?
I don't want
him
to go
to
Washington. I can't stand you. I don't want him to go to Washington, though, because if he goes to Washington, Daniel Snyder will have an NFL championship and a Super Bowl. And I do not want Daniel Snyder to have a Super Bowl trophy.
He goes to Washington. They're a 14-win team that goes to the Super Bowl and more than likely wins it. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we'll see. But Denver seems like it makes the most sense. Like if I had to pick a destination for him, I feel like it's Denver.
I agree.
But God, if he went to Washington, they're going to be so unbelievably disgusting.
There were rumors of Washington. Okay, there were actual. I did see people saying that Washington could put a package together and could take on the money. They would obviously lose a couple of their young defensive studs. Not Chase Young, but a couple. Maybe Sweat has to go in that deal. I think they can afford to lose a couple of defensive players if it means bringing Aaron Rodgers there. And this in no way is a way to slander Ryan Fitzpatrick, by the way. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick still makes that team the NFC East winners this year. And I'm including Dallas, who I think is incredibly talented this year, by the way. People are going to be sleeping on Dallas because people love to hate on the Dallas Cowboys. That team is going to be challenging for playoff spots. And they're probably going to beat somebody in the playoffs as well with Dak Prescott if they stay healthy. But Ryan Fitzpatrick on his own is going to make that Washington team even better than they were last year. Speaking of better, we're going to talk about Fred Warner, who has got a massive new deal. Let's go over this deal for the 49ers with Fred Warner. $99.225 million in new money, $27.5 million guaranteed at signing. He gets another $984,000 guaranteed in 2022. He gets $12 million guaranteed in 2023. And the base deal is 3 years, $42.6 million. This is crazy as this is going to sound. This is a really good deal for the 49ers as well. Like this deal helps the 49ers with their cap. They knew they were going to have to re-sign him. This extension actually helps their cap number for a few years. They've got what the most important thing is when you want to sign defensive players. They've got on their roster. They've got a young quarterback that is not going to take a lot of their money in the next few years once they get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. Brother, this Warner, good for him, right? I mean, get your bag.
He's 24. He's an incredible talent. He's one of the most fearful defenders, I think, in the league right now. I think he's making now more than Bobby Wagner by, I think they said $1 million when I was reading through that article. Mm-hmm. This is a massive deal. And to your point, yes, you just got your young, hopefully franchise QB. You don't have to pay him for, I think, 5 years or what a first round rookie quarterback deal is. So this matches up pretty much perfectly with that. You're in a fantastic spot.
That NFC West is going to be a gauntlet. Yeah. We're talking about the Seattle Seahawks. Any team that has Russell Wilson on it is going to be competitive because Russell Wilson can literally carry a team. The 49ers now with a young quarterback. And again, depending on if they can get rid of Garoppolo and his money, Trey Lance being on that team is going to be amazing. Hopefully he pans out, but if he's really good, that is a 4-year contract that they don't have to worry about. We talked about hold on, the Rams, right? The Rams?
I believe the Rams are in there too, yeah.
But the problem with the Rams just happened is that Cam Akers down, I think he tore his ACL he will be out for the year. And that's
scary. I think it was worse. I think it was an Achilles.
Oh, it is. Oh no, you're right. It's a torn Achilles. You're right. He was lined up to be a huge part of their offense. He was going to be running back number 1 on a team that runs a ton. He was going to be he's a great pass catcher out of the backfield for Matt Stafford and Matt Stafford's first year there. That defense is unbelievably good. They're already looking at other players that they can target in trades because the guys they're bringing in are Darrell Henderson, an undrafted free agent Xavier Jones, and let me give you 3 names that you've never heard of: Jake Funt, Ramon Calais, and Otis Anderson. Yeah, exactly. Those are the running backs on the rosters right now. And again, Sean McVay is doing what Sean McVay does. Oh yeah, those running backs look really good. We've got some talent there. The current free agent crop is Adrian Peterson, the ageless one, Le'Veon Bell, the matureless one.
Say his name.
Who?
You know who's coming up. Say his name.
I'm not gonna say it. I can't. LaShawn McCoy, who can't carry the ball, carries the ball in one hand. Devontae Freeman, and some random that doesn't understand you have to drop before the goal line to run the clock out instead of just crossing the goal line and costing his team more wins.
Bring Todd Gurley back. I want Todd Gurley back there.
Why?
Why not? Let Todd Gurley's had some weird years, right? His last year that he was with the Rams was a really weird, like, is he hurt? Is he not hurt? Why is he not playing? We don't really know. We never really got the full story behind that. And he was in Atlanta, I think, for the last 2-ish seasons. Let Todd Gurley go back to LA. Let him have his resurgence and let him and Matt Stafford cook. You got to run a split running back system anyways, right? I don't know if Todd Gurley's really your workhorse running back like he used to be now. Let him be your power guy. Henderson, let him be your scat back. Let him be the guy that catches the balls out of the backfield and just let it work.
Yeah, Todd Gurley going up against the Seattle defense or the San Francisco defense is something I want to see 2 times a year for sure.
300 yards.
By the way, 195 rushes last year for Atlanta, 678 yards and 9 touchdowns. And the only reason he got 9 touchdowns is because they force fed him every time they got to the goal line. And one of them, he should have landed on his knee before crossing the line and cost his team a game. No.
They should slander, please.
What they should do, they should look at guys. You're gonna know the name of. The Benny Snell, I think, was up on the board as somebody that could be a very good piece for them coming out of Pittsburgh. I think the starting running back for the Los Angeles Rams is not currently on the roster. I think he is currently on another team's roster. They're gonna have to trade for one. I don't like any of those names. Adrian Peterson is the name I love the most. And even in Washington towards the end there, it was kind of, okay, it's time. Like, we understand you're not going to get hurt, but you're also not getting any burst on any of your runs anymore either. The Rams have a chance for a Super Bowl this year. I don't see mortgage the future, but you got to mortgage a little bit of that draft stock to get a running back that's going to help Matt Stafford out. Because if you don't help him now, you're wasting the fact that you gave picks away to get Jared Goff out of there. So they need something. It's not Todd. Why? Just wrap this. Please wrap this abortion of a show up, please.
Well, okay. I just want Todd Gurley there. You're being a hater, so you know what? It is what it is. Great episode, Mills.
They should trade for Aaron Rodgers to running back for them. There you go.
Man, a lot of halfback toss passes. I'm here for that. That playing Madden.
Like the XFL. You're the XFL arena football in LA. Sean McVay really showing his coaching chops.
Jesus Christ. I now unfortunately want that, and I will be deprived of it, so I'm very sad.
Madden coming out less than 30 days. We can do it.
The developers there now hate you, Mills. Great episode. We talked about a lot. The Madden scouting update, I think, is a massive thing. If you guys have not already, please make sure you go check out the video. I think they have a video of it. At least it's on their Twitch page for EA Madden NFL. You can go watch the VOD for that and go sort of dive through it. Fantastic information. Swami just, again, kills it. No disparage against anything else, but Swami's literally an insane person when it comes to all that information. So make sure you check that out. We'll be back next week where hopefully we will not talk about Aaron Rodgers so that Mills won't have to frustrate everyone. Just like
there's nothing wrong with the diva. You got to love the diva, okay? It just is what it is.
You're the diva?
No, I'm not the diva. Aaron Rodgers is the diva.
You're
the diva of this podcast. You've been the diva of this podcast since day one.
Podcast.
Tell everyone how much Facebook pays you yearly.
$1. Be safe, be smart, and tell somebody you love them. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Ciao.